Saint Teresa, the girl who was not afraid to dream. This happened about 200 years ago in France, in the town of Lizy. Here lived the large and beautiful Martin family. Father Ludwig and his 5 daughters, the 2 oldest were already nuns, and the youngest, Teresa, lived with her father. Teresa liked to spend her time by the window. Here she watched the town's huge clock every day and waited to see something very beautiful. Every day, nuns would walk down the small town street to the Mass, their faces looking so beautiful and even radiant. One day, a nun lifted her eyes and greeted Teresa with a smile. I also would like to be a nun. For those who love God, everything is possible. Hearing such words, little Teresa melted with happiness. The nun smiled at Teresa and slowly went her own way. Teresa would often think about how she wanted to be a nun. However, she was still just a little girl, so she had to wait many years. She liked to spend her days in the garden. Here she used to pick flowers and play tag and hide and seek with her sisters. But she especially liked one little corner. Here she would think about God. One day she felt it was time to tell her dad about her dream. In the evening, the girl went to her dad's workshop and said she wanted to become a nun. Her dad was surprised but happy. They went together to pray and think about what to do next. Maybe you'd like to talk about it with the prior? Dad, that would be great. So they went to see the prior. Teresa asked for permission to become a nun sooner. However, he replied that she would have to wait a few more years, unless the bishop said otherwise. Teresa was upset because she didn't want to wait so long anymore, and she didn't intend to give up. So she prayed once more, talked with her dad, and headed to the bishopric. The bishop was a kind and wise man. He listened carefully to Teresa's request to become a nun. However, his answer was no. Seeing Teresa's tears, Bishop promised to consult with the prior and send her a letter. Not long after, the bishop invited Teresa and her father on a trip to Rome. Teresa believed that maybe she would be able to talk to the Pope there. Maybe he could help her become a nun faster. Rome was magnificent and a wonderful city, in the middle of which stood the huge St. Peter's Basilica, the place where the Pope met with the people. Everything here was so beautiful. But Teresa was thinking only about tomorrow's meeting. And so they go to the Pope until they see him sitting on his throne and giving a wise sermon to the people gathered here. Teresa listened to his word and pondered them. She managed to talk to the Pope. He listened to her request. But he replied that she would trust God and wait for the bishop's letter. Hearing this, Teresa burst into tears. The journey home seemed very long to the girl, and nothing brought her joy anymore. So now Teresa could do nothing more. She spent her evenings and mornings in prayer, talking to Jesus and the Virgin Mary, because now only God could help fulfill her dream. The bishop had promised to talk to the prior again and send a letter with a final answer. Every day, Teresa checked the mailbox with impatience and anxiety when she would receive a letter. Finally, the day has come when the letter arrived. Great. The bishop allowed Teresa to become a nun without any delay. The joyous day finally dawns, and Teresa becomes a nun. The girl felt extraordinarily happy. She hugged her beloved father and sisters and went to the convent. There, she was adorned with beautiful white clothes and a wreath of flowers. She took her monastic vows, and from that day on, she lived in the convent. She prayed a lot and was glad that she could dedicate her whole life to God. Children, don't be afraid to dream about big things, because for those who love God, everything is possible.